Tēnā anō tātou katoa. Well, a visit long planned for these confirmations has ended up falling very providentially just before Helen concludes her ministry amongst you as your vicar. So I do want to take this opportunity to extend my personal thanks to you, Helen, for these last 9 years of work. I can't believe 9 years has flown by. It seems no time since we were gathered welcoming you and Stephen here to take up this role. So, well, time flies when you're having fun, I guess, is it? Stephen, our thanks to you as well, and every blessing on all that lies ahead. New adventures and, of course, a very joyous and exciting family moment fast approaching now. Warm greetings again to those of you who come to be confirmed today and to renew your faith. I really enjoyed the chance to meet with you yesterday and find out a little bit about you and the ways in which God's called you to this moment as we took part in the retreat day here. It was good to hear of the different reasons why you're part of St. Matthew's. You know, some of them are, if you like, a family, some of them are a bit historical, some of them are very intentional though, about why you're here and why you stay here. And a common theme that I heard was about a group of people who feel held by the church here, who feel a community has included them, made space for them, given them a place, and have nurtured your faith. That warmed my heart. Today's Easter season scriptures have offered us a wonderful confirmation gift through what we read from the Acts of the Apostles. In it, we caught this little slice of life of the new Jerusalem church as it became established and as it began to grow. We heard of a commitment to worship together, a sense of awe at the work that God was doing among them, a real care for one another, and a thankfulness of heart that developed. Now, it's really easy to idealise that picture, and I could have retired even before you are, Helen. If I had $1 for everybody, every time somebody had said to me, oh, we only just need to get back and be like the church in the Acts of the Apostles, you know, if we could make it like that, all would be well. This New Testament church and all of its perfection. Well, people forget, if they read more than just those few verses of Acts chapter 2, people forget about the politics that complicated the policies around how food would be distributed and how all these gifts that were held in common would actually be used for the good of all. And that led to the appointment of the first deacons, which kind of solved some of the problem. They forget about how actually not everybody did sell all of their possessions. Some gave the impression that they had to maintain a picture of pious self-righteousness, because apparently that's what everyone's doing, but actually held things back. And in fact, nothing more is really said of this radical church economics that had apparently developed when we read the rest of the New Testament. So presumably it didn't sustain itself for too long. People forget the struggle for Gentiles to find their place within the life of this Jewish-dominated church that was growing up, where it was hard to delineate theological rationale from inherited racist attitudes. And so that led to the church's first synod to try and sort some of that out. That brought a bit of compromise that calmed the farm, but actually couldn't of itself resolve the underlying attitudes that drove that behaviour. You might say all was not well in the state of Denmark. So let's not beat ourselves up. I think sometimes we have this imagined utopia of Christian life in the Jerusalem church sometime around 30 CE, with its phenomenal daily growth, and we think, oh, we struggle along by comparison. What are we doing wrong? Trying to navigate our way through the many disagreements and differences that beset our life. within the church as a whole, and at times within our local congregations as we work out what it really means to include one another, to make space, to show care, to share what we have for the good of all. Nevertheless, I think that the writer of Acts deliberately idealizes things to point us towards some of the marks of the life of the church that lie at the heart of things when we are at our best. In other words, to offer us a vision of what church life could be if we will only aspire to it. Things that we should aspire to as we now try to make our faith, make sense of our lives, and build our church in 21st century Aotearoa, New Zealand, as we seek to be faithful to the way of Christ, the call of Christ in our time, in our context, right here in the heart of the CBD. And so much of what's promised in confirmation and renewal has its source in these ideals. That wonderful phrase about the apostles' teaching and fellowship, the breaking of bread and the prayers, speaks of the worship life of the gathered community, and I think is deliberately set before everything else to help us understand just how primary what we do together here really is. See, Anglicans are a people who learn their faith first and foremost through our worship. We're not taught into faith. We pray our way there. And we're sustained in our faith through the ongoing corporate life of the church as we continue to participate in it. It's hard to hold to Christian faith in isolation. I certainly think it's almost impossible to really grow in that faith all on our own. We need one another. And in fact, the way we grow is not because we have formed and found some idealized church life where everything is so perfect and amazing. Our faith grows when things are messy. Our faith grows through the disputes that we have to manage with one another. Our faith grows in contexts of incredible challenge where faith has to make sense not only to me, not only to ourselves, but also to a world and a community that we're placed right within. And I know those challenges here have been very real for you in recent months, as you understand again what it means to be in the heart of all of this messiness and the challenges that it brings to your life. This community life, sustained by God through our worship, is a place to belong, a place for the mutual exchange of love and care, a place where we learn about forgiveness, for there can be much to forgive, and there can be much for which to be forgiven. A place that inspires us in our quest with God for peace and justice in the world, followers of Jesus Christ. What we find here, what we learn here, what we gain from one another here, flows beyond these doors and walls as we carry it with us into the many spheres of life where we belong. The gentle, loving reign of God becomes real for others. All of that is going to be given expression in what these 5 people will say in the promises they make in confirmation and renewal. Things said explicitly by 5 people amongst us today as they commit themselves to this, but no less true for the rest of us who are also pilgrims on the way with Christ here. these things speak of the way in which the work we do in God's name should be undertaken, so that it really does reflect the reign of God, the presence of the divine. So wherever we find ourselves, whatever it is that we do, we seek to inculcate a spirit of forgiveness, to act in a way that expresses and encourages love for neighbour, that creates outcomes of peace and justice, that recognise and accept that there may be personal cost for us along the way, especially when those things call us to offer a challenge to others that leads to change, or perhaps in the pursuit of that change leads us to have to compromise here and there. Those things cost us. All of these things, drawn together, give us hope and confidence that through us, the church, the good news of Jesus Christ is being made known. And the source is here, in this communal life and the worship that we share that helps us to draw on the wellspring of this life and this grace, God's very self. Kia ora koutou katoa.